Good morning. Welcome to the Clueless Luthier. I'm Mark. And we're finally at the point I get to start working on the neck again. I made my decisions on inlays. And if you've been watching those, you probably aren't going to be surprised by what I chose. I'm going with abalone in both cases. And I'm going to start today on the headstock because that's going to be the easier one to route, even though that's the one I want to mess up the least. I can always get another fretboard easily. I've done more work on this that I don't want to redo. So I'm going to readjust the camera angle and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, what I've done, I have my neck clamped in here. And I have drawn the outline, I'm terrified of dropping this and breaking it, so, of the inlay I created onto this. I'm going to start with a 1/8 inch, and it's called an up bit, because what it does is it cuts from the bottom up, which is good for having a nice flat bottom. Then I'm going to, after that, I'll switch to a very small, I think it's 1/32 inch down bit that I just received that cuts a nicer edge along, a cleaner edge here because it's cutting down. So I did just a little bit of testing with it. I really like it. So I have my Dremel set. I did a test so that the routing should be just slightly less than the thickness of the inlay because I want it up. I'll sand off the top. I just don't want it to be too deep. That would be a worse problem. So I will gear up here and I'll get started. Well, as you may have noticed, I already created an opportunity for myself. As I got close to the edge with that, it tilted and it took too much off here. So that will have to be patched. Fortunately, I have the material to do it. But yeah, that didn't make me happy. So now I'm going to switch to the smaller bit. Be a lot more careful as I get to the edge here. And start cleaning this up. All right, it fits. The depth still feels good. I'll have to do some filling, which I knew I would. I just didn't want to have it be that big. So now I'm going to get ready to glue it in place. All right, let's get a little bit of glue in here. See if I can try not to overdo it like lately. Stuff is runnier than what I used before. Make a little more. Okay. Little spot there I'm not able to get. Okay, wipe that off. Just clean this up a little bit. Okay, get this ready and waiting. I thought. angle problem here. Okay, that's starting to irritate me. Just a little bit on there. That's fine. All right, and let this set up. The next thing to do is to route out the area for my palm tree. And I was just going to show this to you real quick. My concern was getting it to fit between the frets. So what I did, I cut off a little bit of the end of fret, which is recommended anyway, because the rollers, as they come off, mess it up a bit. And I stuck them in here for a sizing thing, so I can orient the leaves so that they don't interfere when I do the fretting. So I'm going to play with this a little bit. It's pretty close to what I think I want. And then I will line it out and start routing. Okay, I find marking these out to be painful because I'm just not steady enough. To try to do it without moving it while you're doing it, I guess I could have stuck it down, but I'm always afraid of getting it back up intact. Maybe I'll try it that next time. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start well inside the line this time. I'm going to try. And I'm going to do my first cut with a slightly smaller bit. And was it a 3/32? Because this is smaller too, and hopefully give me a little more ability to get, especially down the trunk. And here we go. I think I've got it pretty good. I've definitely got some filling. Fortunately, ebony is a pretty easy wood to fill, being black and somewhat consistent. This is somewhat figured, but I don't think the gaps aren't too big, and the depth looks good. So it's time to bite the bullet and pour it in. God, I can't get that in. Okay, if you're going to be stubborn. Ooh, not that stubborn. Okay. Okay. And get the truck set. Get out the excess. And I have a built-in call. This is just my radiusing block. Just glue right down to the table. And there we go. So now I'm going to let this set up. So before I make them temporarily ugly again, here's the inlays as they stand right now. Now what I'm going to do is fill in any gaps around the edge with sawdust from, this is rosewood, and that's ebony, and I've got extra pieces of it, so I'm going to sand some down, fill those gaps, and use number 10 AC glue to fill them in. Alright, this is a little piece of the rosewood from the headstock that I cut off. And I'm just going to collect some sawdust from it. Alright, I'm taking this sawdust and I'm jamming it into all the gaps. Alright, then I'll go get some glue and add it. Turn this over. Okay, now I've got a little bit of the fretboard that I cut off. And I'm going to do the same thing to get some ebony dust. Now I'm going to jam the ebony sawdust into all the gaps surrounding this inlay and do the same thing with the AC glue. While sanding this inlay out, I noticed a couple spots didn't look quite right, and I don't know if this should show up or not. Down at the base here, it was a little discolored, and the super glue just didn't, I'm not even sure I really got the wood dust in there very well. And a couple little spots that were hard, like right here, I dug out a little bit. So I'm going to reapply there and see if I can improve on it. All right, I'm all done. I may do a little more sanding on the wood on this one, but there's the headstock inlay and the palm tree inlay on the fretboard. This time what I did, I sanded the sawdust. I used a finer grit sandpaper, and I don't know how much difference that made, but to fill in that gap, because I thought maybe the other was too coarse. And that worked quite well. So the next thing to do is to start putting in the frets. Actually, before I do the frets, I'm using my Radius sanding block just to make sure that this is all smoothed out and properly radius. I did notice that, at least according to this, the edges, it was a little flat. I could tell because I was just it was working here, but not in the middle. Clean that off a little bit. And now I'm getting a little more consistency in it. So, all right, the first thing I did is I cut off the ends of the wires, because as they come off the rollers, they get kind of messed up. So I trimmed a little bit off of these. Then, get my naphtha open. I'm going to wipe down the fret wire, some naphtha, to clean them up. Let's put it over here for now, I think. All right, then what I'm gonna do is cut each of these. Well, actually, I'm only gonna do up to here at first. In case the fretboard needs adjusting, whatever, I'm gonna leave those off until I got it put together. So leave about an 1/8 inch each end. I'm gonna do this without dropping it, I'm not sure. I think like that. It's kind of awkward. I'll just do this, I think. Be close enough. Okay, stop right there for now. Then get something nice and heavy. And take these off in order so I can get back to them. Okay. Now, how this will show up. These are curved more than the board. So what you want to do is make sure it's vertical. Tap in one end. Tap in the other end. Oops. Then, pull them down the fret. And it's in. And wash and repeat. All right, I've got those in. Now I'm going to cut these flush. Okay, this isn't going to show up very well, but I can describe what I'm doing. I have sandpaper on the edge of this. And it's just easier for me to hold on to it and keep it square if I can grab onto it here instead of trying to do that. But I'm going to use that to sand the edges of these frets that I cut down even with the board. All right, now I'm going to start angling the ends of these with a file to take the sharp corner off, I think. Okay, I have these frets all done, at least until I go to dressing them. Went up to here. This next part, I had to really think about how I'm going to not block the view. But it's time to glue this on to the neck. And following directions, what they recommend is putting these on gives a slight, ever so slight bow to this. And so to match it in the opposite, I've got this, my neck clamped down, this board here, and I used a shim to gradually get it so that if I hold a straight edge here, there's a gap of about 1/1200ths of an inch in the middle. And the idea is that once I glue these together, the two counteracting forces should bring it to be pretty darn straight. At least that's what it says in the instruction manual. So, I'm going to set this to the side for a moment. Get everything ready. And time to start gluing. All right, it's all tied up. I've made sure it's centered here. I have marks under here to make sure it's centered there. And I am going to let that set overnight. All right, I let this set up overnight. And let's see. A little bit of glue to clean up. I figured I would. At first glance, that looks right on too. Let's check that out. All right, well, I'll look this over more, but at the moment I'm very happy. Well, I thought I was in the clear, but I think I have a small issue. And I'll have to do a close-up to show. But it looks to me, but the fretboard right up here on this side did not pull tight. And I think I've got some glue down here that's holding it up. So I have got to figure out what to do about that. It's not a lot, but it's there. So I'll be back. All right, before I attempt this repair, I thought I'd talk about what I did. As best as I could, I removed any of the glue because this had not clamped down well, mostly with this. It's thin enough I was able to get in and remove a lot of it. I also, a little bit with a knife, to the point where I could see that I could clamp it down. Now, I don't have much room to get wood glue in there, so what I'm going to do is cross my fingers. I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of accelerant down. It's a little tough. I don't feel like it's real there. Okay, that's a little better, but I don't know how deep it's going. Let's just be liberal with it. Hang on. Number 10 glue, I'm going to put this applicator. The end of this number 10 glue is getting messed up. I'm not sure this is going to work with the applicator. And let's see if I can get something down there. Okay. And clamp this down. Let's hope. Well, I think it was a save. That was a little nerve-wracking. But it looks pretty good. I put this on. There is a little touch of a curve going up, but it seems to be consistent with the other side. Yeah. So I think there just is a little bit of a curve. That'll have to be dealt with with a truss rod if necessary, but it's not very much. There's also fretwork to do. So other than that scare, I'm really happy. I mean, I love the way that turned out. Yeah. So the next thing I get to do is start shaping the neck, but that'll be another video. Thanks for sticking around, and see you soon. Bye.